What's wrong, everyone? Jeremy here from the corner. A couple of quick updates around the Carmelo Anthony case. I'm not sure there's going to be any huge updates now between maybe tomorrow and July 18th, which is his first court appearance. I'm working on a long form kind of how we got here, that includes every update up until now. That will come out tomorrow around 4 o'clock. It'll be a little bit longer video, but it'll give you kind of the mini documentary of how we got here. I want to first talk about all of the grifters around Carmelo Anthony. You know, he may have been a kid that made a stupid mistake, but he sure seems to have had a bunch of people around him who are willing to take advantage of it. We've still not heard anybody refuting the fact that the Carmelo Anthony family has pissed away $500,000. At least that's the narrative going on around now, as they have gone to court and said that they are broke. The one saving grace that I will point out, you know, they've raised $500,000. They asked for and were given taxpayer-funded legal defense as of 2 days ago. And, you know, the indigent, you know, they have no money clause. They're saying that Carmelo has no money. That's the only explanation that I've seen, except his parents have raked in almost $600,000 off of this. So he certainly has plenty of money. Dominique Alexander, the grifter, Karmelos Anthony's handler, has been busy filing spurious lawsuits to try and keep his stupid name in the press when he should be worried about not, pummeling babies, allegedly, as he allegedly did a few years back. He's now filed a stupid lawsuit in Texas to fight Senate Bill 10, which was signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott last week and takes effect on September 1st. He's trying to stop the 10 Commandments displays because they say slavery is acceptable, apparently. Whatever. But the big meat of the story here is we have two things. All of the documents around Carmelo Anthony's notice to appear, original letter of representation, second letter of representation, order to redact the address from the indictment, and the bill of the indictment have now been released thanks to a Freedom of Information Act done by Sarah Fields. Nothing, massive here to discuss. You see here, these are just good to have in the public's eye in case any of these government officials want to try and pull a fast one. Mailed to Carmelo, by the way, his middle name is Sincere Anthony. This is the notice to appear. You, the defendant, are hereby noticed to appear before the Honorable Judge John R. Roach Jr., who we discussed yesterday is probably one of the worst possible judges he could have drawn. This is a guy who's been tough on youth before, tough on youths who have committed heinous crimes. It doesn't look good, for him in that case, which is good. On July 18th, 2025 at 9 a.m., they have to go to court to answer criminal charges pending in court. I assume this will be pretty quick, like how do you plea, you enter your plea in, all that kind of stuff. It says your failure to respond to this notice will result in a warrant for your arrest being issued. I assume he will respond. Here we have, the notice of appearance and designation of lead counsel. Please take notice the defendant hereby designate attorney Billy Clark of the Clark Law Firm, PLLC, as lead counsel, and attorney Kim Cole, K. Cole Law, PLLC, as co-counsel for the defendant, Carmelo Sincere Anthony, who above mentioned cause. Please forward. So they've hired two lawyers from two different law firms. It looks like they've hired two different lawyers from two different law firms, Kim Cole of K. Cole, PLLC, and Billy Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So they've hired multiple lawyers. I don't know if that's new information to you. That's new information to me. I wasn't exactly sure. Now, this is also to whom it may concern. This is from the law offices of Mike Howard. I represent the above referenced client and cause number of law. Please direct all communication. This is just, Mark Howard saying that this is all just basic stuff. They also ordered to redact the address where Carmelo Anthony is staying because, all these mean people want to get at him. By the way, this judge has a horrible signature. I don't know what that's, supposed to read, but this was filed on June 25th. And then you have, obviously, all these, kind of basic stuff. people are saying that they cancel their GoFundMe or their Give, Send, Go. No, that's not the case. But let's go to this. A bizarre campaign started by a deranged woman named Tiffany Billions is launching a, quote, campaign on Saturday called #HeyCarmelo. The campaign involves asking people to donate to Carmelo's Give, Send, Go fundraiser. They have recruited teens and children for these videos, which is obviously very emotionally manipulative, gross, all that kind of stuff. This very same woman who has been doxing people just for commenting on reports about Karmelo Anthony attempted to charge Hunter Metcalf, Austin's twin brother, with a crime through a petition. She has claimed that Jeff Metcalf, his father, swatted himself and has threatened to call CPS on reporters, in this case Sarah Fields, and doxed her and her children's name multiple times on social media, to the point that I finally had her Facebook page taken down. She's now spreading a conspiracy that people were hired at the Collin County Courthouse just to feed information to reporters. All of my work is on my own. Every document I've received has been obtained legally. She has also told people that reporters' children should be taken from her. Recently, her cult, which she calls her, quote, disruptors, attempted to dox a reporter's husband. Because of her conspiracies and misinformation, the Metcalf family has suffered from threats and all sorts of attacks online. Please do not engage with this bizarre campaign. In all honesty, the DA should send her a cease and desist letter. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Tiffany Billions here, who is a 50-year-old black female, 5'6", 125 pounds. She's definitely more than 125 pounds in that picture. But let's take a look at this weird campaign.
For Carmelo, you're going to say something like on this campaign, I support Carmelo. Bullying is wrong. Self-defense is not a crime. We support you. Things like that. So,
look at this.
I'm 16. I support Carmelo.
Hey Carmelo, are you good luck?
I'm just saying like this.
Stop bullying. I support you.
okay. So that's kind of like what the videos are going to look like when we do.
So they've recruited a bunch of kids to read scripts, apparently to say bullying is wrong. There's absolutely no evidence, however, whatsoever that Karmelo Anthony was bullied in any way, shape, or form. And this is just a made-up narrative. Now, does Karmelo Anthony have anything to do with this? I assume not. There are grifters in all communities. If we look at the donations, though, they have, again, continued to dry up. In the last day, we can say that's 20, 30, 35, 60, 100. I mean, there's still a couple of $100 a day coming in here. Here's 12 hours ago, somebody donated 100. It's up to $542,000. But what I find interesting is if I go to Google, I want any news on this, right? If I go to Google, there's really not a lot. 6 days ago, we have some reporting on the indictment. News Nation says a new video of Carmelo with Anthony incident of, came up, but it actually wasn't. It was the old video. Now, here's what I think is very interesting. Karmelo Anthony's lawyer says jury would know he acted in self-defense. Karmelo Anthony's lawyer is out here saying that the jury would totally see that he was just acting in self-defense when he allegedly took out Austin Metcalf. According to him, the jury would know the full facts of the matter during the trial. It's going to be interesting in the courtroom in the next couple of weeks. Well, that's actually not true. The trial has been delayed until 2026 at least. I assume there's going to be plea offers here. I'm not sure. Anthony has been indicted, obviously, we know. It's the only trial. It's only in the trial that the jury would hear the full story. According to eyewitnesses, there was an altercation between Carmelo If Carmelo Anthony's lawyer is as confident that a jury would see it this way, then who are we to judge? Let's sit back and see the whole thing plays out in the courtroom. Of course, this is Black Sports Online. Just the only people really out here are sweeping for Carmelo Anthony. There's very little. I mean, where's the coverage on this? The indictment is there 6 days ago, sure. But CBS News covered the indictment a week late. A day ago, a big ruling. What's a big ruling on the indictment? This is all the coverage we have is the single indictment. This is pretty wild. It's pretty wild that there's no coverage on this. Then again, I'm not surprised. He was a good boy who didn't do nothing wrong. Everybody knows that Austin Metcalf, was bullying him and had this coming. And if only we would just give him more money, it would make him more innocent. The leeches around this. You see a fool in his money. Carmelo Anthony supporter is mad that the Fundraising legal defense is gone. Yeah, I understand why people are mad. Now, is there any 100% evidence that the money is gone? Not yet. They have not come out to, refute that the money is still there, but it's going to be interesting to see if they ever have to account for how this money was spent. I actually don't think that they're going to have to. There's really not a lot going on here. So I'm going to start working on kind of my recap to put out tomorrow or the next day to get us through until the 18th. I don't expect much new news. The only place I can really find is obviously, Twitter occasionally, and then you kind of have to go through a lot of nonsense to find out what's really true. Hope you keep it locked here. Hope you subscribe and follow. I'm going to try to wait, on any of these more smaller updates. I'm not going to put stuff out if it's, too small. We'll see what's going on. We'll talk to you again real soon.